Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Rick Jones, New Zealand Country Head for CPA Australia, and welcome to the second annual CPA Australia New Zealand Integrated Reporting Awards. It's great to have you with us. Unfortunately, in a virtual capacity once more, but we do hope as we move forward that we will be doing this face to face from next year onwards. So here's hoping. But thank you very much for your time. To start us off, I'd like to introduce Louise Cox, FCPA, Director at CPA Australia, to say a few words. Louise.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Louise Cox, CPA Australia Board Director. Thank you, Rick, for your introduction, and a warm welcome to you all. I'd also like to welcome Warren McRae, my fellow Board Director, who's joining us today. On behalf of the Board of CPA Australia, I'm pleased to welcome you to the presentation of CPA Australia's New Zealand Integrated Reporting Awards. CPA is proud to support these awards and recognise excellence in corporate reporting. As Rick mentioned, we wish it was possible to hold this event in person, but such are the times we find ourselves in. Since 2013, CPA Australia has been preparing our own annual reports with reference to the concepts and principles of the International Integrated Reporting Framework. We obtain external assurance that our integrated report is prepared in accordance with the content elements developed by the International Integrated Reporting Council, the IIRC. We regard developing integrated thinking internally and improving transparency in our external reporting as vital elements in continuing to build and maintain our members' and other stakeholders' confidence. CPA Australia actively engages in advocacy activities to mature and embed integrated reporting around the world. To this end, we've provided comprehensive submissions on the IR framework revision, which is currently underway. For some time, we've also been engaged in the important work of International Audit and Assurance Standards Board on extended external reporting. 2021 has been a significant year in the development of corporate reporting. Most notably, there was the merger of the Value Reporting Foundation with the Climate Disclosure Boards in response to the changes to the International Financial Reporting Standards Foundation's constitution, through which the International Sustainability Standards Board has been established. The ISSB is adopting a climate-first approach that is consistent with the work in New Zealand of the External Reporting Board. In due course, it will direct its attention to other sustainability matters, for example, human capital, water, biodiversity, and ecosystems. The integrated reporting framework will continue to be a key focus as the ISSB starts to develop a conceptual framework and release IFRS sustainability reporting standards. We are, it's fair to say, heading into a period of a momentous and hopefully very positive change in the world of corporate reporting. Congratulations to all of the entrants for their contribution to the integrated reporting movement and to today's winners. And a big thank you too to our esteemed judging panel for those contributions and to these awards. On behalf of the CPA Australia Board, I commend Rick Jones and his team in New Zealand on their efforts in organising this event. We look forward to continuing to host these awards for New Zealand for the years to come. I'll hand back now to Rick. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Louise, and great to have you with us and appreciate the support. So, as I mentioned, we're delighted to be holding these awards for the second time this year, and we do see this as an important step in recognising excellence in the field of corporate reporting in New Zealand. As Louise mentioned, there's a huge amount of activity happening globally in the corporate reporting world, and we see integrated reporting as a key mechanism to enable organisations to tell their story. These awards have not only been established to recognise excellence, but also to inspire other New Zealand organisations who are on or thinking about starting the integrated reporting journey. And as Louise mentioned, CPA Australia ourselves have been on this journey since 2013. I'd like to congratulate all entrants to this year's awards. It's great to see entries returning, new entrants, and also entrants who have entered their very first integrated report. And we have a Best Newcomer category this year to recognise those at the very start of their journey, and I wish you all well. A thank you also to the CPA Australia member working group of John Gill, Caroline Bridges, Brent Kenley and Mark Hucklesby, to name a few, for their input in helping support shape these awards. We're still in the early stages, and as I mentioned, we see this as an integral event for ourselves moving forward. hopefully in the face-to-face environment, and something which organisations aspire to be part of. A very big thank you and acknowledgement of our esteemed judging panel with Jane Diplock, AO, Dr. Carolyn Fowler, David Ing, and Warren Allen for their extensive work in reviewing the submissions and challenging task in adjudicating. And before we move on to the announcement of the winners, we are going to have a chat with our judging panel to get their overall feedback on the entries this year and their view on the overall environment that we find ourselves in. So judges, if I can ask you to turn on your cameras and I'll introduce you before we get underway. So our four judging panelists, I'd like to introduce Jane Diplock, AO. Jane is a director of the Value Reporting Foundation and chairman of the Abu Dhabi Global Market Regulatory Committee. She was until recently a director of the Singapore Exchange Limited, having retired after statutory 10 years and remains a director of the SGX regulatory subsidiary RegCo. Jane is a former member of the founding board of the IIRC and a former chair of IOSCO and the New Zealand Securities Commission. She is a highly qualified international company director who is widely considered an expert on governance and reporting. Jane has chaired and served on boards of public and private companies and not-for-profit organisations, with her executive career including senior positions in government, heading several government departments and investment banking with Westpac's merchant and institutional banking arms and in regulation. In 2003, Jane was awarded the Honour of Officer of Australia, Order of Australia, AO. Thank you very much, Jane. Our second judge is Dr. Carolyn Fowler, an Associate Professor at Victoria University of Wellington. Carolyn is former Head of School of the School of Accounting and Commercial Law, and Carolyn's research focuses on strategy and management accounting, accounting education and the profession, and accounting history with an emphasis on colonial New Zealand. Thanks, Carolyn. Great to have you with us. Our third judge, David Ing, Director, Performance Reporting, Audit Quality at the Officer of the Auditor General. David leads the OAG's work in performance reporting. In his previous roles, he's led major strategic work on public finance, performance management and reporting systems in New Zealand's public sector. David has also previously chaired and served on boards of public and not-for-profit organisations in New Zealand. Thanks, David. And last, but certainly not least, Warren Allen, who many of you will know. Warren is formerly Chief Executive of the External Reporting Board and currently chairs the Audit and Risk Committees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Office of the Controller of the Auditor General and Porirua City Council, and recently was appointed Chair of the newly formed PwC Independent Audit Advisory Board. Warren is past President of the International Federation of Accountants, known as IFAC, after serving as President from November 2012 until November 2014, and Deputy President for the 2 years preceding his presidency. During his presidency, he represented the global accountancy profession on the International Integrated Reporting Council. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you'll agree, we've got a fantastic panel of judges, and again, thank you very much for your efforts to date. So, look, keen to have a brief chat with you all. Just you know, you've obviously worked tirelessly at these awards and seen what's happening around us. So, I've got a few questions, if you don't mind, to get your insights. And first question is around your overall perceptions of what you've seen in terms of the entries to this year's Integrated Reporting Awards and a bit of feedback given what you've seen. And David, I might start with you if that's okay.
I guess one of the things that I was particularly impressed with was the newcomers, the new entrants to this year's award. I thought were quite well advanced in terms of, I think, applying the framework alongside some longstanding entrants, but it was particularly impressive how well the newcomers, I think, applied the framework. It was quite, I think, good the way in which many entrants applied the principles, the content elements, as well as the kind of capitals-based approach to the reporting. And I guess one of the key things that I was looking for, which I saw come through in some of the reports, was the extent to which they applied this in a way that really gave a rich account of their performance. And I thought some entrants did that well. And it was interesting also trying to look for how well entrants were relating the various different capitals and resources that they oversee in a kind of integrated approach, and giving faith to, I think, I think what we're looking for here. Some of the things that I was seeing and hope to see, I guess, better in the future is some of the reports were quite long and did at times come across as a bit of a kind of PR document, highlighting some visuals and a lot of information up front, which I was looking for, I guess, comprehensive, but at the same time, quite concise reports that really, engaged the users of the reports.
Great. Thanks, David, for that comprehensive feedback. Jane, is there any other comments you wish to add to David's from what you've seen?
Thanks, Rick. Yes, I think this year we saw a very high level of integration of the reporting, actually, which was something that we were looking for, of course. And I'd agree with David, the newcomers in particular perhaps had done some good research of previous winners, I suspect, because there was a very, very high level of true integration, quite sophisticated approaches in many cases, and an interesting use of the New Zealand government capitals, and also touching on the TCFD and sustainable development goals as well, and weaving them into their sustainability approach, which I think is very useful indeed. So that's the upside, if you like. On the downside, a few were actually not as reflective of true integrated thinking. Some had separate reports, and I think one of the things that's very important in integrated reporting is that there is one report, and that one report demonstrates the integrated thinking right throughout the organisation, and perhaps that's something we might want people to think about more carefully next year.
Thank you very much, Jane. Warren, anything further to add from you, from what you've seen?
Thank you, Rick. I was struck as to how much progress had been made in New Zealand in 12 months, and I would congratulate all of the entrants for the work that had been done. And just to drill down a little bit on both David and Jane's comments about integration, this year we saw really good integration of United Nations SDGs. And we did see a little bit of that last year, but it was very much a sort of an add-on or an afterthought. But this year, many participants integrated that really well. Also, if you look at the content elements in the revised framework of integrated reporting, one of the strong themes there is future focus. I would like all participants to look at that and get the balance right between past performance and also future focus. It's not something that's easy, but it's certainly something that needs to be done. And finally, just a word to the public sector entities. Integrated reporting is really set up very well for public sector entities, and we saw that with a number of the public sector entries. And the linking with the government or Treasury's living standards framework is a great opportunity for public sector entities to link into that work and their whole well-being reporting. And I know that that's very early days, but that's some areas for the public sector entities to concentrate on and develop.
Great, thanks, Warren. Carolyn, you have the difficult task of adding any further comments. Is there anything further you'd like to add?
I'd like to reiterate what the other judges have said. Having been on the panel this year as well as last year, the improvement in the standard of the reports was impressive. Looking at some of the entrants from last year and this year, you can see people are making step forwards and improving what they're doing. The other thing that to think about And the reports that really impressed us were the ones that took a more balanced approach and looked at both what was positive and negative in the year, in terms of, the material matters. The other thing that I thought was done very well this year was a lot of people had engaged with doing materiality assessments and then looking at, what really mattered most to their stakeholders.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn. Thank you all. That one of the key elements to these awards is the opportunity for organisations to receive feedback, and so that's just the starting point. What we've just heard then, and I can for all entrants, and I hope you're all on the call today. You will all be receiving feedback in the next fortnight that we've collated from the judging panel during the judging period. So thank you very much for that. I'm sure many found that very useful, that feedback. In terms of, Jane, I might just pass a question to you with obviously what Louise and I have mentioned around all the activity happening, the increased focus on climate reporting, the merging of IRC and SASB, and the recent establishment of the ISSB. Where do you see integrated reporting sort of heading with all of this and fitting in here?
Thank you, Rick. Can I say that what is really very important, and I think perhaps and has not been as publicised, is that the merger of the IRC and SASB is also including, for the formation of the ISSB, the Climate Disclosure Standards Board, and clearly the issue of climate is an urgent and existential one for the world. And so I think that what we'll see now for integrated reporting is a strengthening, in fact, of integrated reporting, because jokingly we've said the merger of the IRC and SASB is a marriage made in heaven, that the SASB is a standard setting process and a set of standards looking for a framework, and the IRC is a framework looking for a set of standards. But in fact, what is happening is that integrated thinking requires both the standards and a framework on which you can actually make the integration really work. And that's what I think has been so illuminating in our reports that we've been looking at this year, that we're seeing that true integrated thinking, and that as we actually see the merger made real, and we see the SASB, IRC, CDSB, and hopefully others come together and consolidate, the need for integration and integrated thinking and integrated reporting is only becoming more and more valuable and is being more and more widely recognised around the world.
Thank you, Jane. And Warren, I might pass to you, linked, directly to that question. Obviously integrated thinking has been promoted as an important component. How do you see the link between integrated reporting and the integrated report itself?
Thanks, Rick. Just to highlight what Jane said in her opening comments, that this year we really did see some obvious integrated thinking going on. And we commented on the quality of the newcomers into this awards process this year. And it was obvious that they had done a lot of work within their entities, looking at integrated thinking, and really got that sorted out before they came into integrated reporting. And I think that is absolutely essential. I think it's been demonstrated over the nearly 10 years now of integrated reporting that the first step is to make sure that your entity is operating in an integrated thinking way. And then the reporting is a sort of worthwhile byproduct, if you like. It falls out of that integrated thinking, and it's your accountability document that sort of describes how the business or how the entity has been managed and run.
Great, thank you, Warren. David, I might pass to you. As we know, we talk about this being a journey, and everyone's on a journey, and some are further along than others. But what do you see as some of the biggest challenges facing widespread integrated reporting adoption?
I guess one of the things that I often hear when I talk with a number of people about integrated reporting is I think people really trying to understand what is the value and the benefit of it from more traditional reporting. Because I think for a lot of people, they see quite a bit of costs associated with adopting quite a different kind of approach that, when embedded into your thinking and adopting an integrated thinking approach right at the outset, it is quite a bit of effort and work into actually doing it. But I think the more that we're able to actually see what are the clear benefits of it, and for me there are clear benefits to this, and how it is that it can actually help entities to improve how it is that they think about their business in the longer term, as well as how they report on that. I think that will be a key thing looking ahead. I think alongside of that, this is hard. I think in terms of actually trying to take a richer approach to how you think about your resources that you manage, as well as what you're trying to influence and how they affect each other over the longer term. How you go about measuring it. There are quite significant challenges there. So I think the challenge ahead is really how can we, I think, tackle some of these quite difficult issues while at the same time learning from it and seeing the benefits of it.
Thanks, David. And Carolyn, linked to that, what David's just said, what would your advice to be to organisations who are considering going down the path of integrated reporting? What would you say to them?
Probably what I'd say to my PhD students, make a start.
Yep.
Because every journey, whatever you're doing in life, actually, begins with the first steps. And as Warren has alluded to, starting and thinking about integrated thinking and breaking down some of those barriers in the organisation. And I wrote here things like trying to reconcile conflicting stakeholder interests, or breaking down the silos of thinking within organizations and some of the power relationships. One of the things, as I mentioned and others have mentioned, we see year on year improvement. So, putting, and we had a partial report from one of the entities this year, they will get feedback, they will next year improve. And so it's about, taking that journey, getting the feedback all along the way. One of the things, there's also learning to tell the story about your organisation and being proud of your organisation and how it creates value.
Great, thanks, Carolyn. Some great advice there. And as we mentioned again, the feedback is fantastic and will be shared post this event more directly as well. In terms of Jane and Warren, I might put this to both of you in terms of how are we doing? How's New Zealand doing? Compared to our global peers. Where does New Zealand sit on this journey? We've been on there for a wee while now. Who wants to sort of give some insights? You've both said on global representative sort of groups. Warren, did you want to start with that?
Yeah, thanks again, Rick. I think it's fair to say that New Zealand was initially quite slow to the party, and interestingly, so was Australia. But I see both Australia now and New Zealand well and truly sort of on board the train and the journey, and the increase in the number of integrated reporters in New Zealand over the past 2 or 3 years has been really very pleasing. So I certainly don't feel that New Zealand's an international laggard now. I think we're up there with many countries. So I congratulate everybody on doing it. This is a user-demanded revolution, and it's great to see reporters responding to that.
Fantastic, thanks, Warren. Jane, anything further to add, either on that or I suppose just anything further on how integrated reporting fits into this sort of slightly crowded reporting landscape? Anything further you'd like to add to wrap us up?
I'd just say that I think we're going to see much greater consolidation of that rather crowded landscape, Rick. And what we're hoping for, the structured network, which has really been brought together by the Impact Management Project globally, has a number of standard setters involved there. And we're looking hopefully to much greater consolidation of that. That consolidation will use integrated reporting as its mechanism for the integrated thinking that's required in relation to all of the elements that they are particularly interested in. So I think we're only going to see the growth of integrated reporting. There is no, I reached out to Jonathan Lebray, the Chief Policy Officer at the VRF, to just see whether he had a database of reports. And the point he made is that it's all, for everyone, it's a journey. And depending on the standards that they're using at the moment, sustainability standards that they're using at the moment, and their own part of that journey or where they are on that journey, it's difficult to say. But his view was that New Zealand was really on a par with the UK, the US, and Australia and other and Japan and other countries that have been on this journey for a while. So he considers we're up there with the best.
Great, that's great encouraging words to finish with. Thank you, Jane. And look, and again, a big thank you to Jane, to David, to Carolyn and Warren for not only today but your efforts in helping adjudicate these entries over the last few weeks. So thank you very much again for your time. So, ladies and gentlemen, it now brings me to the part which many of you are looking forward to, in the actual announcement of the award winners. And today, as I mentioned right at the start, we have three categories, and we're announcing three winners, one from each of the categories. Public sector and non-listed category, a for-profit, which is defined as a listed entity category, and this year, as I mentioned right at the start, best newcomer category, awarded to an organisation who have submitted their very first integrated report. So we'll start with the first category, public sector and non-listed category, and the finalists are Auckland Council, Kaingaroa Homes and Communities, Littleton Port, New Zealand Post, Plant and Food Research, and Zealandia. And just a note too, due to a conflict of interest in this category, one of the judges did remove themselves from judging this category. So thank you to all of these entries for taking the time and effort to submit an entry. And I'm delighted to announce the winner is Plant and Food Research. The judges were impressed with the structure of their report, how they told their story, and linkages between the strategic focus areas and the integrated reporting capitals. So I'm now going to invite Dr. Roger Robson-Williams, Chief Sustainability Officer of Plant and Food Research, to say a few words. Roger, I see you've appeared on screen there. I will pass over to you.
An enormous thank you and kia ora from Plant and Food Research. For us, integrated reporting felt like a really useful evolution of the way that we've been trying to tell our story. And we submitted this integrated report with some trepidation, but with excitement to hear some feedback. And I have to say, no expectation whatsoever of winning. So I'm thrilled and slightly overwhelmed, frankly. I would like to acknowledge that the Plant and Food Board was very supportive of us going down this route and really wanted us to go as fast as possible. So thank you for this amazing endorsement of that support we got from the board. And of course, I'd like to give a particular acknowledgement to a couple of colleagues at Plant and Food who actually did the hard work, the mahi, to make this integrated report what it is, and those people are Tracy Williams, who's on this call, and Emma Timewell, who took the concept of integrated thinking and using that to tell our story and made it a reality. And the credit for this award really goes to Tracy and Emma. Kia ora, ngā mihi nui. This is wonderful news. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roger. Thanks for joining us, and congratulations once again to Plant and Food Research. So the judges also gave highly commended in this category to Kainga Ora Homes and Communities in Zealandia. And like the judges said at the start, there was very little between all entries really. And so well done to Kainga Ora and Zealandia on a highly commended acknowledgement for this category as well. So the second category is the for-profit category, which we defined as listed entities. And the finalists are Contact Energy, Meridian Energy, Port of Tauranga, Ravensdown, Sanfords, Sky City Entertainment Group, Tourism Holdings Limited, and Transpower. And the winner is Port of Tauranga. The judges praised Port of Tauranga for their conciseness, telling their stakeholder engagement story, and the external verification of their data. They're also very impressed with how they explain their capitals and their content elements. So I'm delighted to invite Rochelle Lockley, Communications Manager at the Port of Tauranga, to say a few words. Hi, Rochelle.
Right. Well, I'm delighted to accept this award on behalf of Port of Tauranga. Thank you very much. We entered last year and we found that the feedback we got was really helpful. We published our 2021 report on August the 27th when we were just over a week into the nationwide level 4 lockdown. So there's only a tiny team of us that put together the integrated annual report. And so I'm really proud of how we managed to pull it off. Having a great design agency helps. Wave and Mount Maunganui have been with us almost since we listed in 1992. So integrated reporting has really helped us communicate much better with our stakeholders, but we've also noticed a lot more interest from the likes of debt capital markets, for instance. Data collection and verification is still an ongoing challenge for us, but the integrated reporting process really helps the whole business understand the importance of non-financial members. And as we all know, there's no end destination in integrated reporting, so we're really looking forward to making even more progress next year. Thank you very much on behalf of Port of Tauranga.
Thank you very much, Rochelle. Congratulations again, and thanks for your persistence. We got there in the end. I felt like I was sort of a network news presenter staring into the abyss, waiting for technical difficulties to resolve themselves. But thank you very much, and congratulations once again. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
This category was, as I said, very close contest. Transpower was a very close runner-up in this category, and Transpower were a newcomer as well, but also Sanford and Contact Energy were highly commended in that category. So well done. Congratulations to you as well. So the last category is a new one for this year. As I mentioned, the best newcomer, defined as an organisation who's entered their very first integrated report in the most recent reporting cycle. And the newcomers this year were Littleton Port, Plant and Food Research, and Transpower. And the winner is Transpower. So as I just mentioned, they ran a very close runner-up in the for-profit listed category. The judges were very impressed by a number of components of their report, their materiality assessment, linking to the Sustainable Development Goals, and their linking of the capitals. And as I mentioned right at the start, this category was that all the judges were very impressed with the newcomers this year. So congratulations to Transpower. I'd like to invite Raywin Moss, General Manager of External Affairs from Transpower New Zealand, to say a few words. Raywin, we'll see if we can get you on there.
Thank you so much for the award on behalf of Transpower. We're honestly very chuffed to win this. So this is the first year that we've officially and formally followed the integrated reporting framework, and it's something that's been very well supported by our board. We have incorporated elements of it in previous reports, but this year we completely redesigned our thinking, our process, and our content to fit the IR framework. certainly a collaborative effort right across the organisation involving a number of people. It's been well received internally and as we understand externally as well. And the IR framework it's a very good fit for our business to measure our activities and our outcomes, and in particular within the environment that we're sort of facing within New Zealand at the moment around empowering our energy future. And it's a great chance to engage our people and our key stakeholders, of whom we have many, in that journey. I'd particularly like to acknowledge the work of Deb Gray and Kirsten Rose. So Kirsten is with us on the call. They're from our comms team, and they've done a great job, I think, at sort of marshalling together our thinking and our content and really bringing that to life. So it's a great honour to be recognised for our efforts as the best newcomer. Thank you once again, and thank you to the judges and to CPA.
Great. Thanks very much, Raewyn, and thanks, like Rochelle and Roger, thanks for your persistence with the technology. So congratulations once again.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the event for today. Once again, I'd really like to offer a warm congratulations to all our winners, our highly commended, but also all organisations for taking the time and effort to submit to these awards and for their work in the integrated reporting space in general. As I mentioned earlier, a key component of these awards is to ensure that you all receive feedback from the judges. Some of it you've heard verbally today, but do look out for this coming through to you directly over the next fortnight. A big thank you to the judges once again for the efforts that you've put in, to Louise Cox for introducing this session today, and all of those who have supported the awards. As I say, we too see ourselves on a journey for these awards and see these as a really important event in the calendar in New Zealand. So hopefully I will welcome you back in person next year. Apologies for the technology issues. That's what we have to deal with in this day and age. Thank you, Kane, for your help there on the technology side of things. But thank you all. I wish you a great Christmas ahead in what's been a very challenging year, and we look forward to with hope for next year, and wish you all a very good afternoon. Thank you very much.